This is MD in the attic.
I can't do any more TikTok videos. I lost the will to live. It is so awful. I'm done. I'm never looking at that website again. Going to start a new series on basically tales from psychiatry. Some recent events in terms of stuff that's come up while I'm teaching, but also in client work, have reminded me of a few experiences I had quite a long time ago when I worked in residential psychiatry. And the intensity by which I used to, the anger and the frustration I used to have in beholding these scenarios and being completely powerless to do anything about it. Things like the over-medication of people or the unnecessary medicating of people, the unnecessary detention of individuals, the complete non-comprehension of otherwise very well-trained, very well-meaning professional staff, not really understanding people and not understanding the patients. And I thought it'd be interesting to relive some of these experiences in my imagination, really, just to see how much I can see them differently now to then. But I suspect if I went back to those environments, I would probably be as angry and as frustrated as indeed I used to be when I was dealing with these things on a daily basis. So my first story from the series for today's video, this was in a residential psychiatric unit, lovely staff, lovely set of residents. We didn't call them patients, they were residents, because to call people patients would be to be against them. So we call them residents because that wasn't prejudicial. Here it is. This is much more eclectic. But they don't have a choice but to live there. And should they try and leave or wish to basically go, they would be sent back to the unit, sent back to the secure unit. Staff around the clock and all the rest of it. Lovely unit, lovely staff, everyone's well-intentioned, and it was actually, most of the time, quite a nice atmosphere. And I say it was a great bunch of residents as well. The reality was, though, that they were patients. They were. Because the staff, even though we weren't psychiatric professionals as such, we were housing workers, the staff still wrote up reports on every patient, every shift. Now, a lot of these people had lived there for nearly 10 years. What are you going to write? Slept well overnight, had Weetabix for breakfast, had a glass of... That's what they used to write. That's what report used to consist of. I'd go in on an early shift and sit in the office, and the two night staff would hand over and tell us what everyone had for breakfast. Yeah, completely pointless. So it's kind of a reenactment of psychiatry whilst pretending not to be psychiatry. Now, this is the point of this particular story. One of the residents there, her mother was dead. Her mother had actually died a number of years previously, but she hadn't been told. It was deemed not appropriate to her well-being to inform her of this critical piece of information. And so I was also told, do not mention this reference point. The family had all been advised as well not to tell her, not that they had a great deal of contact with her. And so this poor woman had always wondered why, well, where's mother? And so therefore fabricated excuses were made to this poor woman, who must suspect, clearly, there's something very... No, she's very psychiatric, this lady. Must suspect there's something very wrong. But it's okay, we'll keep medicating her and keep lying to her. And then when she asks questions, we'll lie a little bit more, and everyone's in on the lie. This kind of reminded me of the film, and the name escapes me right this very moment, The Truman Show, where essentially Truman is in the middle of a film set. He's the only one that doesn't know about that. And of course he starts manifesting all sorts of symptoms. The symptoms are his correct perception of reality, but it looks psychiatric. I just wondered how much of this gaslighting had been going on throughout the course of this patient's psychiatric career, and prior to that through the family, where she's correctly ascertaining reality, and yet in fact everyone is in on a collaborative deception, telling her that she's wrong, when actually she's right the whole time. And when things start to break in her head, we'll give her the drugs and keep her detained in a community unit where she's a voluntary patient, but if she tries to leave, we'll send her back to closed conditions. There was this funny thing that I used to see a lot in psychiatry, that everything was a lie. You're a resident here, this is your home now, that you live here, this is your home, and we want you to regard it as a home. But we're watching you the whole time, writing notes up 3 times a day because there were 3 shift patterns. And if you try and leave, we'll dispatch you back to closed conditions. But it's your home, and make it your home. Treat it as your home. That's a lie. everything was built around deception. And it just made me wonder how much the medication was closing the gap between truth and reality to make it convenient for the community around the patient to continue the deception that's convenient to them and wholesale inconvenient to the patient. I'll be interested in what people think. Should that patient, despite her level of unwellness, actually been told the truth about her mother, or was it in her best interest to keep telling the lie? Interested in your thoughts on this one. Oh yeah, click the like button. Always appreciated.
This is